Hey everyone, welcome back to the Den. Today I'm going to be doing my 2021 tier list for quarterbacks in the NFL season. And I'm going to be ranking from elite, great, to good, to okay, to bad. And I am just going to kind of be ranking them based on mine. So for example, elite is top 5 quarterback, great is top 10 quarterback, good is top 12 quarterback, okay and bad are just kind of the way up there. So first off, we're going to be starting with Baker Mayfield, and I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's top 12, or at least closest to 12. I think he's definitely proven he can win games for the Browns. And his stats probably would have been better had I had not been playing in a hurricane. But I also just think there's not a thing that really wows me about him that I think he needs to work on. I think he needs to start having more eye-popping stats in order for me to say, yeah, this guy's a top 10 quarterback. But he's definitely a good player, and I would definitely say it's arguably like franchise level for the Browns that they have right now. At the okay, next we're going with Big Ben, and I think he's an okay quarterback. His stats do not tell the story. His end season was just abysmal, and he's very questionable and looked very old last year. I think he might be serviceable at best, but I think he's what holds back the Steelers from being a Super Bowl team and a good offense. I'm sorry, Steelers fans, it's just how I see it. Next is Tom Brady, who I think is an elite quarterback. The guy, despite being as ancient as you can get at the NFL level, still playing at a high level at his age, and is going to be reuniting with the exact same players with an improved team anyways. At the next quarterback is Teddy Bridgewater, who I just think is bad. He was a check-down quarterback who did not do anything and thrived off New Orleans. Even his time in Minnesota is completely overrated, in my opinion. He didn't do anything in Minnesota, and is one of the more overrated free agent quarterbacks in his time, and I really think that's all I kind of have to say about him. Next is Joe Burrow, who I'm going to put at the okay tier. I need to see more from Joe Burrow. He had 13 touchdowns to 5 interceptions and didn't even reach 7 yards per throw. He showed potential, yes, but he needs to have more statistics in order for me to be impressed, but I think it's not going to necessarily be his fault. I think it's because his O-line is just bad. But I don't think adding in Ja'Marr Chase is going to solve all his problems. Next quarterback is Cam Newton, who I'm going to put up the bad tier again. Cam Newton was just bad. His first 2 games were alright. Better than that, I was just not impressed with Cam. I don't think granted he did not have the receivers, I get that. But he had no line and he had a run game. I don't think that should have been enough. And Jacoby Myers, in my opinion, was a pretty solid player. He should have at least played at least okay. But instead, he was just borderline bad. I do not think he's that good of a quarterback. Next is Derek Carr, who I think is in the great tier. Derek Carr has been an amazing quarterback. Go to the deep ball project for the 2021 season. The guy had just as good stats in the deep ball as Patrick Mahomes, yet he's kept himself at a good touchdown pick ratio. He's held back by being on a bad team with Las Vegas. He's easily the most underrated quarterback in the NFL, other than maybe Ryan Tannehill and Jared Goff. He's an amazing player, and the Raiders are lucky to have him. Next is Dak Prescott, who I think's in the great tier. My biggest issue with Dak is he seems to pile in yards more than, and even sometimes just not even getting enough touchdowns. My other thing for him is he does not seem to be quite clutch. He seems to choke a lot of games, quite similar to that of Matt Ryan. I think he's definitely a fantastic quarterback, but he's got some things to work out with, and he's got to start winning some games before I put him in the elite tier. I think he's a top 10 quarterback, that is definitely for sure, but he had his struggles last year that I think just kind of kicks him out of the tier of elite. Next is Andy Dalton, who I think is bad. He was serviceable and even pretty good for this time in Bengals, but he should have gotten more done with Dallas. And I think his time's going to be over. He could be in a worse offense in Chicago with one of the worst offensive-minded coaches I've seen in a while, Matt Nagy. I think he probably will get benched sometime for Justin Fields running into the fire. Next is Daniel Jones, who I'm going to put at the in-between. I wish there was an in-between phase, but I'm going to put him at the bad tier for now. I think he has potential, and he's had some statistical stuff that make you think, okay, maybe he can improve. But he's once again not going to have a good O-line. I don't think the Giants addressed it enough, and I think it's going to lead to him having some failures at quarterback. Maybe he improves Saquon Barkley and the addition of Kenny Golladay, and Kadarius Toney, but I am concerned about Daniel Jones with that O-line of his. Next is Drew Luck, who I think is a trash quarterback. Yeah, the man has just been completely awful in his time in Denver, and he's even admitted himself when he released the football that he did not know, that he was kind of like, yikes. I'm not impressed with Luck, and he should go to a career as a rapper. Next, I'm putting Jared Goff into the great tier. Jared Goff is going into a system that's going to return him back to his 2017-2018 form. He's continuously looked good via camp, and I largely blame McVay for the failures in the Rams, and also because of bad line play. I think the Lions' line play will improve Goff, and I think with the weapons we've given him is a better version of his 2017 Rams, or even a better version of the juiced-up version of the 2019 San Francisco 49ers. I'm putting Goff in the great tier. I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback next year. I don't know why Dwayne Haskins is in tier. I'm not going to talk about him because he does not deserve to be there, even on this list. Next is Taylor Heinicke, who I think is going to be in the okay tier. He did a serviceable job for Washington last season, but I didn't see enough tape of him to really put him in the tier with Baker Mayfield. But I think he's a very capable starter, as shown by the fact that he put up a good fight against Tom Brady's Buccaneers. Next is Justin Herbert, who I'm going to put in the great tier. My biggest thing with Herbert is we've only seen one season. He could have a sophomore slump. But I do think that he will only get better with the addition of Rashawn Slater to help that Chargers line, and the addition of Corey Linsley. I think he's going to absolutely explode, but I'm not going to put him in the elite tier until I see him get past a sophomore slump. Just like everyone's confident Baker, I'm going to be a little bit more on the downside. Next is Jalen Hurts, who I think is a bad quarterback. His completion percentage was down, and he didn't win enough games for me to really be that impressive. I think he'll be figured out in the end. Next is Jimmy Garoppolo, who I believe is an okay quarterback. He has a very, very good win-loss record, and he's proved he's a capable Super Bowl leading quarterback in 2019. I'm excited to see what he can do. Joe Flacco's in the trash tier. He's old. He hasn't done anything. Josh Allen, elite quarterback. He was in the MVP conversation with some insane stats. He's only going to get better, and he's progressed every single year in his time in Buffalo, and I love what I've seen out of him. Justin Fields, I think, is an okay quarterback. I don't know really what to say out of him. I don't really want to give a rookie the benefit of the doubt, but he's going to be playing. If he does play, he's going to be playing with the Bears, who, as I stated, is not a good supporting cast. So I have my concerns, but I think due to the fact his mobility should give him some okay leverage. I think we could see some potential from Justin Fields. Next is Kirk Cousins, who I think is a good quarterback. Look at his touchdown pick ratio in the last 2 seasons. He's had some good yardage as well. He just chokes at the big moments, but I think he's a pretty good quarterback regardless. Next is Kyler Murray, who I think is good. He's shown some flashes, and I think he'll only continue to improve and will get better and better and better. My biggest issue with Kyler is his consistency for touchdown pick ratio, but I think that can really be cut down as he gets older. Next is Lamar Jackson, who I'm going to put in the great tier. His passing ability concerns me. I'm not saying he's actually a running back if we joke around with it, but my biggest issue with Lamar is he didn't even reach 3,000 yards this past season. Any quarterback, no matter the situation you're in, should reach 3,000 passing yards. I don't really understand it. Even sophomore season, Josh Allen got 3,000 passing yards. I just have my concerns over Lamar. If I can truly put him in the elite tier, I think he's a top 10 quarterback for sure, but he needs to be a better passer for me to say he is an elite quarterback. Trey Lance, I think, is good right now. He's an unknown. He's a raw, so I'm just going to have to automatically put him in the bad tier until we see what happens from him. T-Law, I think, is going to be in the okay tier. They got him some good weapons, but they do not have an O-line over there. And he's also, once again, going to be a rookie quarterback. I don't know what we're going to see out of him. Next is Mac Jones. Mac Jones, there's a Mac Jones every draft. That's all I have to say. Patrick Mahomes, he's the best quarterback in the National Football League. He's easily an elite quarterback with an amazing talent and nearly kept up with the Buccaneers despite the fact they're terrible line. Marcus Mariota is a bust for a reason during his time in Oregon, and I just don't think he'll be solid playing for John Gruden. Matt Ryan is a good quarterback, and I respect his play. Next is Aaron Rodgers, who I think is an elite quarterback. He won the MVP for a reason, and if he plays, he's definitely an elite quarterback. And next is Russell Wilson. We've seen his play. He's definitely an elite quarterback, and I respect the heck out of him. Despite the fact Seattle's given him nothing to work with, he still puts up great numbers. It makes his team competitive. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a serviceable quarterback, despite the fact that the Dolphins gave him nothing and kept putting him in and out. He played well and made the team better. Sam Darnold is a bad quarterback. There's a reason Sam Darnold didn't do well in New York, and it's not just because of Gase. He even struggled with Todd Boyles, and I do not think he's that great. I saw terrible decision making, and who knows, maybe Joe Brady will save the day. But for now, I do not think he's up there. Matthew Stafford, I think, is a great quarterback. He has made the plays to make the, do everything. It's very hard for me to kind of say all these guys are top 12, but he's just so much up there that I have to give it to him. In a great tier, I think he can even put up some pretty good numbers with Los Angeles. Ryan Tannehill is a good quarterback. There's nothing that per se is elite about him, but he plays extremely well, and I won't put him in the great, but I think these other players that I mentioned are better quarterbacks. But I do think you could maybe switch in Goff or Carr for Tannehill, and I could respect that. Next is Tyrod. Tyrod hasn't been good since his time in Buffalo. Not much to talk about. Taysom Hill, I think he's an okay quarterback. If you take away his fumbles, his numbers are actually really good, and he had some really good plays. I think he can definitely become something. I'm much more interested in Taysom than I am Jameis. Mr. Trubisky is a bad quarterback. I don't even know why he's on this list, but I'm not even going to talk about. Tua Tagovailoa, he was bad. He needs to improve. He has the wins, and that's all to his name. Watson is an elite, but we'll see if he even plays next year. Carson Wentz, I think, is an okay quarterback. I mean, he's a good quarterback. With a good O-line, he has proven that he has done good. He's a Super Bowl tending quarterback. James Winston is terrible. He's never had a good touchdown pick ratio in his career and has always had a losing season during his time in Tampa. And do not blame Bruce Arians because Tom Brady went on to have a great season compared to Jameis. Zach Wilson, I think, is an okay quarterback. I love his footwork and I love his arm. I think he's pretty accurate. I'm pretty excited to see what Zach Wilson can do, but rookies, I never give anything above the okay tier. And that is my video, guys. Thanks for watching. Where would you guys rank the quarterbacks? And see you later.